Adobe held the stack of papers. Her red dress shimmered. She stood at the gate of a massive house, a house she now owned. A man opened the gate. His clothes were old and crumpled. His eyes were tired. He looked nothing like the powerful man she remembered. "Good morning," Adobe said, her voice clear. "I have something for Mr. Chuks." The man stared at her. His mouth dropped open. It was Chuks himself. His face showed deep lines of worry. Adobe remembered him well. She remembered the day her world crashed. Years ago, she was a young, bright professional. Chuks was her boss. He owned a big company. Everyone knew him as smart, but also very cruel. One afternoon, he called Adobe into his office. "Adobe," he said, his voice hard, "you are fired. Clean out your desk and leave, now." He said it in front of other workers. They watched, their faces sad. Adobe felt hot shame. She picked up her small box of things. Tears blurred her eyes. She walked out of the office, out of the building. She had nowhere to go, and a big secret was growing inside her. Adobe walked away that day with nothing but her broken heart and the tiny life growing inside her. She was pregnant. Chuks was the father. A secret from a short time they shared, a time he had clearly forgotten. She had no job, no family to help. Fear failed her. But deep down, a fire burned. She would not give up. She started small. She cleaned houses, cooked for people. She saved every naira. Her belly grew bigger. She kept her secret. When her son Jide was born, Adobe held him close. He was her reason to fight. She worked harder than ever. She learned about interior design, how to make homes beautiful. She took night classes. She read every book she could find. Slowly, her business grew. People loved her designs. They trusted her. Adobe's designs became famous. She moved from a small room to a small flat, then to a bigger house. She bought land. She built homes. God's grace, she always said, was with her. She never forgot how Chuks treated her. That memory pushed her to be stronger. Jide grew into a smart, happy boy. He was her everything. Now, years later, Adobe stood before Chuks. He looked lost. He had not recognized her at first, but now a flicker of shock crossed his face. He quickly hid it. "Mr. Eze," Adobe said again, holding out the papers. "These are eviction papers. This property now belongs to my company." Chuks took the papers. His hands trembled. "Eviction? No, this cannot be. My company owns this house." "Your company," Adobe replied calmly, "no longer exists. My company bought this property after your bank took it over. You have 30 days to move out." Chuks' world had fallen apart. His big company, once the envy of everyone, had crashed hard. Bad choices, risky deals, and dishonest partners brought it all down. He lost everything. His cars, his investments, his money, and now his home. He had nowhere to go. He felt like the world was spinning. He did not know how he would survive. He had been so proud, so arrogant. He thought he was untouchable. Now he had nothing. Days turned into weeks. Chuks felt helpless. He tried to find work, but no one wanted to hire the man whose company had failed so badly. His reputation was ruined. He lived in a cheap, rented room, eating instant noodles. He searched online for any kind of job. One day, he saw an advert for his simple management role at a real estate company. The company name sounded familiar. Graceful Homes and Designs. He sent his CV. A few days later, he got a call for an interview. Chuks dressed in his best, though slightly worn suit. He arrived at a tall, modern building. The lobby was grand. He felt a strange sense of unease. He went up to the floor for his interview. He was told to wait. The door opened. A woman walked out. Her back was to him at first. Then she turned. Chuks froze. It was Adobe. She wore a smart blue suit. Her hair was neatly tied back. She looked powerful, calm, and utterly in control. She was the one who had given him the eviction papers. She was the owner of this company. His old, fired employee was now his potential boss. Adobe saw him. Her eyes held no surprise, only a hint of something unreadable. "Miss Eze," Adobe said, her voice even. "Please come in." Chuks felt his face burn. Humiliation washed over him. He walked into her office, a place bigger and grander than his own old office had ever been. He sat down, feeling very small. Adobe sat behind a large polished desk. She held his CV in her hand. "So, Mr. Eze," she began. Her voice was kind but firm. "It says here you are CEO of a major company." Chuks cleared his throat. "Yes, Adobe. Madam. My company, it faced some challenges." Adobe nodded slowly. "Challenges indeed. Do you remember when you fired me, Mr. Eze?" Chuks looked down at his shoes. I was different then, arrogant. I deeply regret many things." "Do you regret calling me useless in front of everyone? Do you regret telling me my best was not good enough?" He swallowed hard. "Yes, I do. Very much. I was a fool." Adobe paused. "I run a company where every person is valued, where hard work is respected. Your past actions, Mr. Eze, showed none of that." Chuks felt a terrible shame. He had been so cruel, he had forgotten the faces of those he hurt. But Adobe had not forgotten. He saw it in her steady gaze. He deserved it. He truly did. "I need a job, Adobe," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "Any job. I have nothing left." Adobe studied him. "I have a junior role open. It's an entry-level position. You will work under other managers. It pays very little, but it's a start." Chuks nodded quickly. "I will take it. Thank you, Adobe." He could not believe his life had turned like this. He, the mighty Chuks Heze, working at the bottom for the woman he had crushed. Chuks started his new job. It was hard. He had to take orders from people much younger than him. He cleaned up coffee cups, made copies, ran errands. His old pride was slowly crushed. He saw Adobe often. She was always busy, always focused. She treated him like any other employee, professional and distant. One afternoon, Adobe's son Jide visited the office. He was a bright, energetic boy, maybe 8. He looked around with wide, curious eyes. Jide walked past Chuks, who was carrying a stack of files. "Excuse me, uncle," Jide said politely. "Do you know where my mom's office is?" Chuks stopped. He looked at the boy. Jide's smile was wide, and there was something about his eyes. Something familiar. "Yes, it's just down that hall," Chuks pointed. "Are you Adobe's son?" "Yes, I'm Jide." The boy bounced a little on his toes. "She's my mom." Chuks watched him go. He felt a strange pull. He had the same strong jawline, the same way he tilted his head when he was curious. It was just like him, like Chuks himself. A cold wave started in his stomach. No, it couldn't be. He shook his head. It was just a child, but the thought stayed with him, poking at his mind like a sharp needle. He saw Jide again a few days later, running past his desk. Jide was drawing at her mother's desk. Adobe was on a call. Chuks walked by, pretending to be busy. He saw Jide draw a tall building. Then Jide wrote his name, J-I-D-E. Chuks hipped at the boy's handwriting. It was neat, firm, just like his own used to be as a child. A sudden memory hit him. That short time with Adobe, years ago, he had been so young, so careless. He had quickly forgotten about it, dismissed it. But Adobe was pregnant. He knew it now, deep in his gut. The dates, the features, the way Jide moved, the way he thought. His heart began to pound like a drum. He felt dizzy. He walked into the break room and splashed water on his face. Jide, Adobe's son, his son. He had fired the mother of his child. He had ruined her life, and unknowingly his own too. He had abandoned his son, a son he never knew existed. The realization was a heavy blow, worse than losing his wealth, worse than losing his home. He had lost a family. Chuks stumbled back to his desk. He looked at Adobe, who was now smiling at Jide, a warm, loving smile. He had caused her so much pain, and she had raised their son, his son, all by herself. That evening, Chuks waited for Adobe after work. Rain fell lightly. When she came out, Jide was with her. "Adobe," Chuks said, his voice rough. Adobe stopped. She knew. "Please," Chuks continued, ignoring the rain. "We need to talk about Jide. He is my son, isn't he?" Adobe looked away. Her face was calm, but her eyes held deep sadness. "Yes, Chuks, he is." Chuks dropped to his knees right there. Jide looked confused. "Adobe, Chuks begged, tears mixing with the rain. I am so sorry for everything, for firing you, for hurting you, for not being there for Jide. Please forgive me. I was a blind, arrogant fool. Losing Jide, losing you, that is the worst pain of all. Adaobi watched him. Years of pain. Now the man who caused it was begging. She saw true regret, not just for wealth, but for family. She saw a broken man. She reached down, pulling Chuks gently to his feet. Get up, Chuks, she said, her voice soft. The past cannot be changed, but the future can be. Chuks looked up, hope dawning. Adaobi still felt hot, but her heart was big. True strength was in rebuilding trust. Chuks had to prove himself. He learned true success was not power or money. It was kindness, humility, and family love. Adaobi's grace, her ability to arise, showed that forgiveness could open the door to a new, complex